I understand that from the fans.
I'd like to let you know that the declaration that I made earlier about freedom of information being followed is still in place. So I will not bore you by repeating that again. We have complied with the FOI requirements. We have some action we want to take as a result of executive session, but before that, I want to call the regular meeting part to order. And I'm going to ask you to stand with me for our invocation, which will be followed by a pledge of allegiance. And then we will vote to come out of the executive session, and then we will take some action as a result of that executive session. Please pray with me. Our Father, as we enter into this Thanksgiving season, we are truly grateful for all that you have bestowed upon us. So many things that they are too numerous for us to list or talk about tonight, but we are aware of your blessings, and we pray that you would be with each of us tonight. We are thankful for the opportunity that you have given to us to serve as county council members. For the staff and the citizens that sit before us, we pray that you will continue to be with us in our prayers, that everything that we do tonight would be pleasing in your sight. For it's in your name we pray. Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council, we have been in executive session since 4 o'clock, and I need a motion and a second that we adjourn our executive session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Templeton, and a second by Ms. Childs, all in favor, and we're now out of executive session. I would like to inform each of you who are under the sound of my voice that during executive session, it was made known to us that our county attorney, Elizabeth Taylor, is resigning effective January the 31st. She is resigning because of family concerns and family needs. If anyone wants to know any other details about her resignation, I would ask you to deal with Elizabeth. I want to say it's a big loss for us. We have not only come to love her, but to appreciate her and respect her, and she has been a godsend. And we reluctantly even give this a little bit of consideration. But she's agreeing to stay with us, and she said, I will do it until the end of January or until you can find someone to take my place. So unless some other council member has something they would like to say, I would entertain a motion from the body that as a result of executive session, that we reluctantly accept the resignation of Elizabeth Taylor as county attorney effective January the 31st, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I reluctantly make that motion.
I have a motion by Mr. Templeton, second by Mr. Lane. Now I will open for any comments by council.
Well, as the baby of the council, I want to thank you for every time that I have come to you, and you have given me clarity on so much. You know, I've learned a lot coming on council. A lot of things are new to me, but you have certainly impressed me with your knowledge and the way you have moved and fast forward doing things. So I thank you for your service. Thank you.
Anyone else? Are you ready to vote?
We're ready.
All in favor of the motion?
Reluctantly.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and we will be talking more about the soon coming, I think we got a little over, 2 months? Thank you so much. Sad part of our meeting to have to handle at the very front of the meeting, but thank you very much. Council, you have been provided with approval of the minutes, not approval, but with the minutes of the October 20th, 2020 regular meeting. If there's no changes, do I have a motion and a second to approve?
So move, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Ms. Childs, second by Ms. Spencer. All in favor? And those minutes stand approved. On your agenda, there was a presentation to be made by Mr. Thomas Norman regarding property line issue on 102 Mountain Shore Drive. Mr. Norman withdrew his request on 11/16, which was yesterday. There are no letters or anything we need to read into the record. Matters of old business, third readings. Ordinance 2020-26, which amends the Greenwood County zoning ordinance so that if it is amended, one parcel of land owned by Terry Boone, Nantasket Investments LLC at 324 Old Apple Highway, changes the zoning classification from C2 general commercial, and there is an error on your agenda. It should read R2. And that's what we took second reading on. So this will be from C2 general commercial to R2 single family residential. This is third and final reading. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman, offer your motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allison, second by Mr. Moats. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that is approved on third and final reading. We have ordinance 2020-27, amending Title 4, Chapter 1 of the Greenwood County Code to repeal certain sections governing the hiring and employment of personnel and other matters related thereto. You heard an explanation at the last meeting from our county attorney, and we adopted that on second reading. What is your pleasure tonight? Does any pressure? If not, do I have a motion?
Approve, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Allison, second by Ms. Childs. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's third and final reading approval. We have new business. We have discussion regarding Greenwood County's contribution toward the Troy water lines. We have been informed by McCormick County that they have secured a grant of some $200,000+ to run a water line into the town of Troy. It requires a match of some $22,000, and the McCormick County is asking Greenwood County Council would we share in that match. So our match would be $11,000. And I think the manager told us that it would be 8 to 10 houses that would be served by this water line. We have discussed it in executive session, and now we need to either agree to pay half of the match or not. What is your pleasure?
Mr. Chair, I so move that we pay the half.
Ms. Childs makes a motion that we pay half. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lane and Ms. Spencer both seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would like to note is that for several years now, we have had multiple residents, that folks living down there, that do not have adequate clean water. They have had to haul water because the water was contaminated in that area for whatever reason. So this is really a big deal if you live in that area. Something we've been talking about for years. So I think it is a great opportunity for us to extend this service, this basic service that we all take for granted, to these folks in Troy. So I'm proud to say that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I would add to Mr. Allison's remarks, we also asked questions about fire hydrants and the ability to improve our fire response in that area. And we have been told by McCormick County officials that the water pressure is not sufficient to add hydrants. But maybe someday in the future that the pressure can be increased and can add fire hydrants. It would be wonderful to be able to not only provide potable water for the residents, but also to help them in fire protection. But they tell us that's not possible now. But I think we would, representing you folks, would be foolish not to take advantage of this opportunity. For $11,000, we can have water to these residents. Wish it was to everyone. It's not, but it will service a number of people in that vicinity. Everyone, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? And we will match the $22,000 to the grant. Our next item of business is to consider appointments to the Joint Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Lindler, Planning Director. And if you want to, Phil, you can go ahead and talk about C, which is appointments to the Joint Planning Commission at the same time. We'll vote on them separately.
Sure. From time to time, you have appointments and reappointments to your boards of zoning appeal and the planning commission. Tonight, you have two members whose terms are expiring this month, Mr. Thomason and Mr. Rushton, and they have served for a number of years. Mr. Rushton for at least 2 decades, and then Mr. Thomason is finishing his first term.
And you are recommended, or it's being recommended that we reappoint them.
Yes, sir.
Council, you've heard the recommendation from Mr. Lindler. What is your pleasure?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Templeton, second by Ms. Spencer. Any discussion? All in favor? And those two appointments. Now to the Joint Planning Commission.
Thank you. The Joint Planning Commission, you made some appointments last month at your meeting. However, Mr. Curtis Coffey from District 7 has let us know that he would like to resign from the commission, and he will be serving until the end of this month. End of next month. And so we would need to have an appointment for that seat.
And that represents?
It's typically District 7.
District 7.
Yes.
Mr. Lane.
Mr. Lane, so you will bring us back with a recommendation?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to invite Kathy Miller to come forward and give us an update from the Treasurer's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have a summary report for the last month with some financial information for the month of October. I've asked Ms. Dorn to assist in presenting tonight. To highlight for you tonight on the financial page, the very top bullet would be around your receivables. I've included a new chart for you. Instead of giving you a lump sum number, I'm showing you the trend and how that now looks when you go back to January of 2020 and where we are today with that. You'll notice a little uptick as of October with some delays and some payments as well. But I thought the chart, I'm a chart person myself. I like to see it. I'm a visual aid. So I thought that would be more meaningful for you to see the historical tracking of the receivables. Also, with the bank balances, to give you a new look at that, in addition to all the bank and the bank accounts that we have, the third document in is more of a comparative to show the amount of money that we've invested versus the money that we keep in an operating account per se. So think about investment opportunities here, and you go back to June of 18, fast forward, and you can see historically we had a little blip in December of 18, a little too high. We'd like to see a nice balance. We have to keep a minimum balance in our wells, our operating account, if you will, to cover our fees and expenses, but we really try to capitalize on investments. So this past year in 2020, we earned about $90,000 in interest because of some, good movements of money, especially at this time of year when property taxes are flowing in. We don't like to let it sit there too long. We'll sweep it over to an investment account for the county. The good news, the audit has been completed. So as I stand before you today, we're excited to say that as of today, when I left the office, there were no deficiencies to be reported by our auditing firm, and that the general fund balance is going to be an increase of about $1.3 million as we have projected the last couple of months in front of you. So we're holding about $1.3 million. Expenses, basically, to give you a big overview, would be that there was some uptick in some revenues, but mainly it was due to lower expenses than we had planned for the year. Vacant positions is a big driver of that as well, as some other miscellaneous initiatives that were enacted throughout the year. But overall, the good news. We'll give you a lot more deeper dive into that. We're planning right now for the audit to be presented December 1st with Manley Garvin here on site, and to have a hard copy in your hands, hopefully the Wednesday before Thanksgiving so that you can look at that and, have some questions ready if you have some. We did complete the micro grant process with the chamber, the foundation of the chamber, and approximately, I'm thinking it was about 104 grantees were receiving monies. I was part of that committee to go through all the applicants. And I'm going to fast forward now and then let Ms. Dorn come back and talk about some of the assistant treasurer's activities for the month. The deputy treasurer's report, the SC Cares grant reimbursement has been completed. We submitted a request for about $107,000 of expenditures that we've incurred related to COVID. Tax collector's report for the month of October, we collected about $2.8 million for current property taxes, so you can see how quickly that would add up in a bank account with these next 3 months coming in with people paying property taxes. Auto is about $894,000. And this was, I think, a special interest to know that we have an installment payment plan that we currently have about 348 taxpayers who enroll in our installment plan. So not a large number of participants, but it is available to people to even their payment out to us throughout the year. That would be the highlights from my standpoint, and I will ask Ms. Dorn if she would like to talk about some of her activities.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
Explain MAP visit review public transportation process.
Yes, sir. We're prepared to give a presentation at some point in the future to council, but since you know that Ms. Dorn and myself, we traveled to McCormick to visit with Becky Powell-Moon, who heads up the McCormick Area Transit, to get an idea of how it would work in Greenwood if we were trying to bring it into Greenwood as part of our economic development initiatives. So we had a very, very good meeting with that. Had a lot of questions answered with that, and Ms. Dorn will be presenting on that probably at the December 1st meeting to give you a deep dive as to the future potential for this program being applied here in Greenwood.
And I see where you said process payroll for approximately 350 poll workers.
The big election.
Did the new system work fine?
The treasurer's office still took the lead on the poll worker payroll for this time. We did not have time to implement any and train any new employees per se to do that. The thoughts that we had on a part-time person assuming it will not come to fruition. So we've got to kind of regroup and go back and revisit that to see what will be the best path forward going, for the next big elections. But for right now, we're continuing to support the voter registration payroll.
And from the election day, how many days was it when these people received their check?
There was a special payroll that was run. So the election was on Tuesday. The data was supplied to us on Wednesday, and then they would have had their checks on Friday if their data had all been complete. There were a few stragglers that didn't have complete data, missing information. We cannot pay them without Social Security numbers and birth dates and things like that. So we're working. We have a few that we still have to.
What you're saying to us is the large percentage received
Yes.
their check within 3 days.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to come forward. I had heard that, but that's a lot of people.
It's a lot of pre-work ahead of that day to make it happen. So thanks to payroll and IT, and certainly HR for helping us with getting, all the documents in to create a payroll record for each of these people.
Does any other council member have a question before Ms. Dawn comes? Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Dawn.
Thank you. I mainly want to just focus on what we're working in related to software. In 2018, there was an update to the software, and unfortunately, staff didn't receive a lot of training. And they have a really affordable program where we can not only catch up, but keep up with training. And so it's an investment in our processes. And so at the end of the month, at the end of December, they will come in and sit down and go through all of our processes. They'll spend 2 days with us. I say sit down, but everything's virtual now, of course. And go through our processes, look at how we're doing things, offer some suggestions on what we can improve on. And then we'll set up some days of training. I already have 2 days set up in January for some specific things. Bank reconciliations are being done manually, and there's a process in the software to do that. So that's going to save a lot of time and improve that process. That's one thing we're looking towards, managing our grants using the software instead of doing those outside of the software, giving us a little bit more control over some of the things we're doing. We're in the process of slowly rolling out a feature called Request for Check, which is automating a lot of our invoice processing. We're doing that. We started in our Public Works department with Cheryl Dana. She's got a lot of experience in accounting, and she's been very helpful in working out some of the bugs. So we're just rolling that out to different departments to continue to automate some of the things that we do and make us a little bit better. We're also adding the software piece related to the collection of our monies. We collect a lot of the dock fees. We collect retiree insurance, GIS payments, airport hangar rent, a couple of other things. And we're going to automate that, again, giving us more control rather than handwritten receipts, so that we can bring more things back into the treasurer's office instead of having so much that's outside. Lake management, we've already moved the collection of dock fees away from them. That were kind of being done in two places. And so we've centralized that back into the treasurer's office. And so that's one of the areas that we're working towards. And from a public standpoint, we've also worked in the tax collector's office to add a voice message. So basically what happens, you call the tax office, and if they're busy helping customers, the phone just kind of rings and rings and rings, which is extremely frustrating. And then they call other departments, and then it just kind of system breaks down. So we've got that set up now to where they're going to get a recorded message that'll let them know everybody's kind of busy. A lot of times what the question is are you open? And so now we're going to address that through our messaging system. So we're hoping that that'll help that office be a little bit better, serve the public in a little bit better way. Happy to answer any questions. I know I went fast, but.
Any questions by council?
Thank you.
Thank you. We have resolution 2020-25, which will adjust the park and recreation fees for rental of facilities and fields for FY 2021 capital.
Yes, sir. I'm going to ask Mr. Brad Cuddle, Director of Parks and Rec, to come up with me, please, in case you have any questions. Thank you so much. Basically, Brad came to us and wanted to revise the fee schedule that was approved earlier in the budget cycle to make some clarity on some items and to address some financial issues that he was experiencing there in the office with not being able to collect some of the fees that he had charged some folks. So when you look at the overall changes, most of this is around clarifying that instead of per day, that it would be per 8 hours. So that's some of the verbiage that has changed. Also in Larry training to carve out, instead of the facility being split into two different parts, the front room would be $75 per 4-hour minimum, and the gym would be $125 before there was not a distinction between the two areas of that center. And then basically on the fields to come up with an overall scheme that says, or plan, basically that's a better word, that says that it's $200 a day for the first field with a non-refundable deposit, and then it would be $100 per each additional field per day. So I'm going to let him talk a little bit about that and his reasons for doing that. So those are the bigger changes in what has been put before you before in the budget presented earlier.
For the Larry Training Center, like you said, we had just one bill of $75, but it wasn't really what area they got. So you pay $75 to get a front room or pay $75 to get the gym. And so there wasn't any kind of clarification between the two. And so when you're renting it out, you rent it out for one price, and they got what they got. So I wanted two different options. So they're in the front room or the gym to pay the right amount on that one. For the fields, the rental deposit fee last year was $25 to hold it for a weekend. And we had 37 weekends booked, but only 15 happened. And so when you canceled, you lost $25, which is nothing for these travel ball companies. So if I change this to a minimum of $200, so $400 a weekend, it'll cost them more to cancel on us than just $25. And then the fields, we were at $150 for the first and 50 for the second. And so we went up to 200 and 100 just to pay for the time it takes to get the fields ready. So they just increased the rental fee for the weekend tournaments.
How frequently were cancellations occurring, Brad?
Over 50%. Now, some are due for COVID. We did shut down for a couple months for COVID, but this trend has been there the last several years. People book it to shut the place down so nobody else can rent it, because it only costs them $25. And so now it'd be $400 for them to do that.
Makes sense.
Is there any stipulations in that cancellation where you can cancel, where there may be, for instance, a weather event?
Whether they get the money back. If we cancel them, they get the full refund back. So, or another weekend to book.
And then a lot of rentals is to where you've got up to a certain day that you can cancel. If they rented a year ahead, things can drastically change.
And we talked about that having a 30-day.
So maybe a window that, if you haven't canceled by this day, you don't get a refund. I just think a lot of these, and I was involved in this several years ago with my son playing travel ball. And I know sometimes, you try to, a lot of the years we would go, you'd have to book a year in advance. And a lot of things, as we realized this year especially, can happen.
Now during the COVID, they got their money back also. $25, they got that.
There was, and I think it would be nice to have a deadline. If you have it canceled by such and such date, 40 days out, 45 days out, you don't get a refund. That gives them the incentive to go ahead and cancel, gives you the opportunity to rent it to someone else. So that's just my opinion.
Let me ask a question about that, though. If you have competing entities, that would be scheduling to block a tournament from being in close proximity to theirs. Because I think that's what I heard you say.
Some are doing that, yes. Some are hoping they fill in if they had too many teams that overflow us to us, but if they didn't overflow, they didn't come. So, and some were canceled just not happy, shut the place down. So, I'm sorry.
Well, but am I correct though? Because what I'm concerned about with Councilman Allison's proposal is if you have a cancellation policy in that circumstance and you're 30 or 45 days out, that's not enough time to plan that tournament that they were trying to block, right?
It is, yes. A lot of them can. It'd probably kind of like adult softball come in because they can get theirs and happen in 30 days. The youth sports may not. But what we're also going to do is limit each organization to 5 weekends. And so that way one organization cannot book 15 or 20 and then cancel all them out. So everybody will get 5 at first, up to 5. And then they'll have others to book later on if they want.
So Mr. Allison's question, what would be,
30 days.
30 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is what the normal is out there some days. And that's what we have discussed that. And that may just be something we do in my rules and policies, if that's okay with the Toby and them that way. So.
All right, let me ask you a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You just stated what the price was, $400
$200 per day to reserve it.
per day.
Per day. So for a weekend, it'd be $400 per weekend to reserve it.
So that's Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday?
Yes, usually they're all most are Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, so that's the whole day
Yes.
for the $200, okay.
Do you think this will increase the number of people reserving fields, or will this decrease it? Will our participation go up? Will we cure one problem and cause another?
I don't think we will.
I mean, we talked about the need to use these facilities to help with tourism and help put people in restaurants and motel rooms and all the other things that goes along. I mean, are we going to solve people not paying and then not showing up, or not showing up and then we're going to decrease the incentive for people to come to Greenwood?
I do think we'll have the same amount of tournaments we'll have, but we won't have so many cancellations. So I think we'll keep 15 or 20 tournaments going a year, but we won't have any cancellations on there. We contract the concession out. He doesn't know if he's working here until Wednesday, or he could go somewhere else and work. You know, our staff is coming in scheduled to work that weekend. They won't find out till Wednesday if they're having or not. So I think we'll have the same 15 to 20 tournaments. I think once we get the improvements done in a couple of years, it will probably go up because it's new, it's improved. But right now, I think we're going to be that 15 to 20 range in weekends that will have tournaments.
And you're coming from what price? $25 to
$25 to $200.
$200. That's a good deal.
A lot of people are $350 to $600 to reserve their facilities.
But the actual price is not going up.
For the deposit. The fee went up from $150 to $200, so it went up $50 per field increase. But all I'm doing is asking for one more deposit, which is applied to their balance. So that $200 they pay deposit goes towards their weekend rental.
Do you have staff on site the entire day?
Yes, sir.
And if there's a tournament going on and you have 3 games before noon and 3 games after noon, is your staff required to go in and refresh the fields?
They always picking up trash and cleaning up.
And do they redo the lines after they've been?
The lines, they're not in there. That's something that they're not qualified or not have enough time to do it. For one person, it's my nighttime workers who are the supervisors are mostly doing it, not my staff coming in. They come in beforehand and after to clean up and mark the fields. But during the
You do
day,
the lines to start with, but your people don't do anything after. I'm just trying
No.
to
not during the day.
justify that cost, because if you got people picking up litter and all that other, you've got staff time out there that you pay them for.
Yes, we have an employee out there from usually 7 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours before first game until about an hour after the game. And so it covers that cost. So that person did.
That would cost, how much all day long?
They make around $12 an hour.
No, I'm talking about to get the field.
To rent the field is $200 all day for one
That's what I'm
field.
saying. So they pay $200 and then we pay 1 or 2 employees to be there all day long.
Yes, sir. They can
So
get
we're
3
not
fields,
making
4
any
fields.
money. We're not making any money.
No, sir. We try to break even. But hopefully the money you make is off hotels, rent,
I mean, if
food.
somebody tries to say that we're just doing it to generate revenue, we really,
We're trying to break even out there
okay.
on that one there. But the money is hopefully coming into the restaurants and gas that people buy in convenience stores.
Well, if people pay $25, they'll cancel on you much quicker than they're ready to charge them $200. Any other questions? Anything else you'd like to add?
I'm good, sir.
Are we ready to vote? Do I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Chair.
Second. Motion by Mr. Lane, second by Mr. Moats. All in favor? And the resolution stands approved. Thank you. We have Resolution 2020-27, which amends Section 4-1-29, which approves the official county holidays for the year 2021. Mr. Chapter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. It's that time of year where we just set our holiday schedules for 2021. And in looking at the calendar, it does not match very well with your ordinance. So I want to recommend you make some adjustments for this 1 year. Specifically, if you'll look at, if you look at your ordinance where it deals with Christmas Day, 2021, Christmas Day, the way your ordinance is set up is that employees get Christmas Day and the day after. That's what your ordinance says. Well, for 2021, Christmas Day is a Saturday. Obviously, the next day would be the Sunday. So what I would recommend to you is that you give your employees Christmas Eve, which is the Friday, and then the Monday. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so that's one of the 2 recommendations. The second one is New Year's, actually a New Year's Day of 2022, because that falls as well on a Saturday. So what I would recommend you do is give your employees New Year's Eve, which is the Friday, as the holiday. So other than that, the rest of your holiday schedule should match fine.
That means that week they would only work 3 days.
That would work 4 days.
They'd be off Monday, work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and be off.
Correct. They have 2 3-day weekends in a row. You're right, yeah.
And they'd come back in on New Year and start off the year with the. Any questions by council?
His staff, we discussed this one. I know one time we done something and it was the wrong thing to do. Just want to make sure.
I did not send it out to them, but I can, if you'll approve it, I can send it out to them. If there's any significant objection, I don't remember what we done, but it wasn't right. Mr. Allen, I would tell you that regardless of what you do for all of them, it's not going to be right. You're probably right.
But it probably wasn't where one of those holidays fell on the weekend either, so.
I forgot. I remember.
4 days off.
I think so.
One and
That should be valid.
3 day off on the other, so they'll be happy. They'll be happy. Do I have a motion and a second?
So
And one by Mr. Moats, second by Mr. Allison. Ready to vote, all in favor? And that is approved. We have resolution 20-28, which transfers funds from the 2007 capital project sales tax to the hydro project fund for the emergency spillway project. Brett Templeton, county engineer, 2007.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
2007.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yeah.
13 years.
You've gone a while.
A long time.
It has.
I was a young man when that happened.
This resolution, is coming as a result of a request, from our board of consultants and from FERC. Basically, as part of our design, they want to do a rim survey. This is generated by a change order from Kleinschmidt to do this review, do this rim survey on the lake. This is to better understand these elevations around the lake, to help with our design as we move forward with the emergency spillway project. The total amount, $16,913 to do this.
18,000.
About 17,000, 16,913.
Mr. Manager, do you have anything to add?
No, Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that you approve. Also, I would tell council that the board of consultants met last week.
Week before last.
Yeah, within the past 2 weeks, and we've got a laundry list of things to do, which is the bad news. But the good news is, it looks like we may be getting approved to go to 90% design. So there's continuing to be progress, led by Rhett and Rob and Klein Smith and others. So, yes, we're spending more money, not a lot, relatively speaking, for the fuse flow. But the more important thing is we are continuing towards progress.
That's good. Does council have any questions? Do I have a motion and a second to approve resolution 20-28?
So moved, Chairman. Second.
Motion by Mr. Lane and second by Mr. Templeton. All in favor? And it stands approved. Thank you, Ray.
Thank y'all.
Do you have any other items of business? It's time for us to go to district reports. Before we go to district reports, I want to say to Ms. Childs, I'm sure she's going to cover this, but I thought the open house in Bradley was very well handled, and seems like you had a very good crowd down there. I thought the people were responsive, and it showed me that they were very pleased with the fact that the county was trying to build that fire station. So, thank you for everything that you did to make that happen. And then I want to say, from this side down, we were successful in the election. It looks like the four of us, unless something happens between now and January 1st, will be sworn in. None of us had any competition except Mr. Moats, but I say to all of my colleagues, we're glad that it worked out the way it did, and we look forward to working with you again in the coming year. I know some of you may not would have said that, but thank you so much. Ms. Childs?
I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow council members who came down on Saturday to support us down at the open house down at Bradley. Thank you so much. And this is what it means to have a fire station in a 5 miles radius where those folk insurance premiums will go down. So they were extremely excited about that fire station. And we'll just continue to do what we can to make a difference out in our rural area. Also, I'd like to ask you guys early now to be prepared for our annual food drive. We need to raise at least 10,000 pounds this year because we know the need is greater this year than it was last year. Because there are many more people that are out of work and that really don't have food. So if we could do what we need to do, and all I ask the county to do is to make it heavy. Make it heavy. So when you think of getting this stuff for the county, make it heavy. If you get me. And that will start December 26th. And then we will do the weigh-in on January 25th, which will be the last Monday in January 2021. Also, I went to the Savannah, no, I didn't go to the meeting, we did it virtually. And we talked about the money they had gotten for the new pipelines. And we know that all were in the city at this point, over on Taggart and Millwee and Gage and all those streets and Baptist Street. All of them are pretty much completed now, but that's what that money came into Greenwood for. Also, while we were there, there was a discussion about affordable housing for seniors. And I realized that when we do our resolution in April, it is for the affordable housing, for them to do that every year. That comes from Columbia. And they also informed me that they could not discuss how we did the affordable housing at this point because that had to come out of Columbia. So we'll just wait and see what happens about that because there are people asking for affordable housing. And that ends my report.
Ms. Childs, I need to warn you, just because you got a fire station and water lines all in the same month, you shouldn't get greedy. You should have been that all along. So we're going to spread some of that out among some of these other folks.
I didn't tell you why I can get it.
I hear you. Both of those had been promised those people many, many years ago. Ms. Childs brought up a point about the CBDG monies, which is Community Development Block monies. For a number of years, the county has allowed Upper Savannah Council of Governments to apply for monies which are awarded to the county, but we allow the Metro Sewer Commission to be a sub-recipient and to use those monies basically inside the city of Greenwood to rehab old sewer lines. You have to be a low moderate income neighborhood to qualify for these funds, and the city of Greenwood is an LMI city. The fact of the matter is that is something that the county doesn't get the credit that it should by assisting Metro in doing that. Recently, we were awarded $750,000, and that money is being used to rehab another section of lines. And I think at one time I had done an accounting, and over the years we received millions of dollars in grant funds and turned it over to Metro to use to rehab those lines. And I think it's commendable on the county's part to allow that to happen. I'll turn it over to Ms. Allison at this time.
I didn't quite finish.
Oh, okay.
I just want you all to know that we also had masks for everyone, and we'd like to thank Derek Oliver for donating those masks over the weekend. So if you didn't get a mask or you don't have one, we can give you one. It has Greenwood County on it to show who you are. So if you like one, we want to give that to you also. And we have pens that was also at our drop-in. So if you need a mask, we can certainly give you one today. Now that does it.
Are you through?
Yes, sir.
We're going to make sure that 1,000.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have a couple of things. I do want to also say it was a very good day in Bradley Saturday when we dedicated our fire station. It covers part of my district also. When I became a member of council for District 2, I realized very soon in the game it was an advantage to borderlines with District 1 that Ms. Childs represents, because she has worked very hard down in that area to help us get a lot of things we need in the rural part of the county. So thank you for your hard work, and to our staff and everybody for what we've done. Great station, and I agree with Mr. Brown. It was amazing at the neighbors and the people who came that day. I mean, it was, you could tell it's very well appreciated. A lot of times we do things and people don't let you know they appreciate it, but those folks seem to be very appreciative of that station being in that area. Let me also say congratulations to my colleagues on council who were reelected. Enjoyed working with you these past years, and know I'll be working with you at least 2 more years. Because I'm up for re-election in 2 years. They may vote me out. But anyway, thank you for your service and congratulations on your re-election. I would also like to say thank you to Elizabeth for what she has done for this county. She has been a great resource for us. You got a good attorney or a good partner in anything when they tell you sometimes what you really don't want to hear, but it's what you need to hear. So I am thankful that she has given her service to us, and certainly hate to see that time in. Also, on a very good note today, I received a phone call at 11:58 today from Donna Seitler, who was our public works director for many years. Today, her husband, after 19 days of being on a ventilator, was taken off. He has been in an induced coma, being fed by a feeding tube for 19 days due to the COVID and pneumonia getting in his lungs. They took him off of the ventilator. He is breathing on his own. He is awake and alert. So, been a lot of touch and go days in the last 19 months. So, I talked to her today and I could hear a different tone in her voice. So we're thankful for that. And, the many prayers that a lot of you know Donna and work with her in the county, and she's a fixture for us. What's that? Thank who for the food? Susan. Thanks, Susan, for the food. And the food at the fire station on Saturday was very good. Susan, you cooked it all, didn't you?
Yeah. All night. Yes, she did.
Yeah, rolling little things up real good in your sandwich. But anyway, Susan done a great job. We're always thankful for her. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Allison told me at the fire station Saturday morning and said, now I want y'all to notice that y'all have 2 restrooms in this building, but don't go outside and tell anybody else in the county, because the rest of us in the county, we only have 1 restroom in our fire station. So, Ms. Spencer? No report.
Congratulations.
Dr. Moats?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to express my appreciation to the folks of the 4th District for once again placing their confidence and trust in me to serve them, and I look forward to another 4 years in that capacity. And I too want to say to Elizabeth, thank you very much for all you have done for the county. Believe me, you've done a yeoman's job, and personally I appreciate what you've done, and I wish you well in your new endeavors, because I think they are extremely exciting for you all and your whole family. So I'll be praying for you. As we mission prayers, I would remind all of us to keep in prayer all of our medical personnel, the nurses, the doctors, the medical scientists who are working on vaccines. Ask God to give them wisdom and guidance. Ask God to open the doors for them so that they can help us. This is a serious thing we're going through. COVID is not a joke. It is serious. And appreciate everybody wearing their masks. Continue to do that. Encourage your friends. It's the only way we're going to get through this thing is we all work together and protect each other. And that is my report.
Mr. Templeton. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I put it out on my social media page, but I would like to say publicly here that I do appreciate the folks at District 6 having the confidence in me and sending me back for 4 more years. I really appreciate it. It is an honor and a privilege to serve, and I'm very thankful that they felt that way. So that's all I got. Well, I guess I should, with Thanksgiving coming up, I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and be safe. Yep. And be safe, as Mr. Moe said, but we're not guaranteed any day. And when I see people canceling holidays, not want to spend time with your family, God's plan, we're not guaranteed a single day. And so we need to celebrate with our families, but we need to do it safely. And so I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. That's my report.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I appreciate Councilman Allison bringing us that report on Jerry Seidler. Mark, I was going to ask you about Jerry tonight. That's such wonderful news. Prayers answered. County manager and I were able, after Ms. Chalmers' event at the fire station Saturday, to take all that leftover food, and there was a lot of food, to the Pathway House. So they were happy that they didn't have to cook dinner Saturday night because we provided it for everyone. I want to take just a minute to talk about the county attorney. As everyone has said, Elizabeth, we have heavy hearts, happy for you, sad for us. But if you recall, when you were hired, when I was getting to know you shortly after you had been employed as a county attorney, I told you weren't my first choice in that process when we were making our decision. So I was wrong about that, by the way, based on the work that you've done.
Can you say that one more time?
Over the last 2 years. Yeah, hold on, it gets better. So, and I remember at that time, when we were going through that process, I remember thinking, okay, a prosecutor, a violent crime prosecutor, she's been great at that, but the breadth of this job and the scope of this job and all things legal in this job, it's going to take too long for her to adjust. And boy, was I wrong about that. Yeah. And
at least twice.
At least twice. And so I was concerned about the breadth and scope, and I was concerned about you were going to need way too much training in the interim. I was wrong about that. So basically, Mr. Templeton, after the election, I think, was kind enough to point out to me that I think I got more write-in votes against me than anybody that was up for re-election. So apparently all those people realized that I have a pattern of basically being wrong about everything. And so, but you have seriously, no joke, you have been great, and we're going to miss you. And I just hope that you will help us to find someone as good as you've been, if there is such a person out there. So thank you very much. That ends my report, Chair.
With the completion of my 8 year on council, oftentimes things pop up on Facebook and they say, memories, this happened so many years ago. All of this campaign paraphernalia come up on mine about what happened 8 years ago when I was running for county council. And one of the things that I had on some of that was, I will never vote for a full-time county attorney. So many people remember my pledge, I will never vote for a full-time county attorney. Well, the truth of the matter is, I did vote for a full-time county attorney. And I found out that it was the best decision that I could have made. And I think it's all due to her and her working acumen. She has proven me wrong.
I hope so.
She has been a godsend. Haven't always agreed with her, and she hasn't always agreed with me. But I think Mark hit the nail on the head. That's not her job to agree with me. Our job is to listen to this person. And when you trust and know the kind of person, then it's easy to listen to them. And I will vote for another full-time attorney, but it is because she did her job very, very well. And I think that's important. So kudos to you, and we just wish you the best. And it's a sad night that you're leaving, but we pray for God's speed to be upon you and your family. Mr. Manager. Madam Attorney, would you like to say something after all of this?
Like I told y'all in executive session, I am just very grateful for the opportunity. I've learned a lot, and I think this is a wonderful job. It's a wonderful opportunity for anyone, any of my fellow bar members who may be listening or who may read this. It's a wonderful opportunity for them. And I'm certainly going to miss working for y'all, but I'll be around. I'll see y'all.
Madam Clerk,
No report.
we just need to tell you, Ms. Childs mentioned this Saturday, but thank you for everything you do. We looked up Saturday morning and Mary Wood, you down there doing all of this. And I think about this often when I'm away from this meeting, and I very seldom think about it when I'm in this meeting. But that gentleman right there does a wonderful job.
Amen to that.
And I have people all over this county say, I tune in and watch you folks, I watch that, and it's because of this man and the quality of his job. Tom Bishop, thank you for what you do. And he stays here as long as we stay here. He stays here longer than we stay here. He has to pack all of this garbage up and haul it out of here. And I know we have 100 others of employees that do a good job, but sometimes we just have to say, Tom, thank you for what you do. With that being said, there's nothing else for us to do except adjourn. Thank you very much. Good job, Mr. Chairman.
Good deal, good deal.
Good job, Mr. Chairman. All right. Actually, I think I got more writings than you did.
That's all I was talking about.
I think I won. I never really see them. I think I had